Hello and welcome to yet another live session on Utthunga's LinkedIn page. So, while our previous discussions have been revolving more or less around protocols and their embedded usage, so today's discussion is a little bit distinct. Software development process has been really evolving over the years, and testing process specifically has been mostly considered an after process all these years, but with latest technologies coming into the picture and latest software development's life cycle coming into the picture, testing is not only an after development process, it's a constant process evolving, start from right from the very beginning to the actual software release. So today we have with us our in-house test automation expert, Mr. Nandan. Hello, Mr. Nandan, welcome to this live
Hey,
session.
Shawnee. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so Utthunga's, Mr. Nandan is actually with comes with 13 years of experience working for top-notch product engineering companies, and he has worked on a lot of projects with where companies and clients have actually benefited from a lot. So, uh, Nandan, we have a set of questions for you, and we will discuss about test automation. And then at the end, we will take the questions from the audience.
Sure, Shawnee.
Okay. So, shall we begin?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So, before diving right into test automation and about the concepts, would you please shed some light about what the testing scenario was about before actually test automation came into the picture?
Okay, fine. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the live session. Thanks, Shawnee, for the wonderful introduction. Okay,
Thank you so
fine.
much.
So I would like to explain what was the landscape before and what is it now and what we can expect in future. Okay. So what was it before? Back then, probably some 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we had lot of functional testing and very bare minimum automation testing. Okay. And there was a time when people used to discourage and question whether this is going to add value. Like, is automation going to add value? We are spending so much of time, resource, and the return on investment was also not so great because people don't pursue it for longer, because to see it bear some fruits, you have to pursue with it for some time to understand its benefits. So people were not willing to do that, at least initially. But gradually, when all the big product companies and the startup world now realize that when it is time to market is key, it is always helpful to have some kind of automation which gives you that edge for you to say that the product is good enough for you to have your functional team test and other aspects of testing to go ahead with. So we generally ask people to prioritize their tests for the same reason, so that they should be knowing what they have to automate and what they should not. So the landscape right now is very good, and it is very promising. And there are some bunch of tools, new technologies that are coming up, and it is really good. And it is actually helping the testing team a lot more, and it is also helping the development team as well, because you can write your scripts and share it with the development team. So before they could raise their merge request or PRs, they can always execute those tests as well, rather than waiting for it to run in the CI and fail it. So we have a good test development tools and other things which actually go hand in hand with our development. And based on the project and based on the timeline, we can always get more out of test automation and add value.
Rightly said. Automation is actually taking over everything, and almost in every sphere of life, I think automation has infused. So why not testing process at all? So that sort of leads me to the next question. Like, why do we actually need, when you say automation, why do we actually need it? Do we really need it? And if yes, then why?
Okay, good. Good question actually. So this has been the thing that we have been answering for a while now. So let me elaborate and give more details as to why is it required. So everybody are aware of the test pyramid. Okay, so test early, identify issues early. That will reduce the cost of the issues that team is going to fix, and also the delivery time to the market will also be lesser if you identify the bugs earlier. So we try to have more unit tests which are again automated. We have integration tests which are again another aspect of automation testing, wherein you will be adding lot many ABI testing and things like that in that space, and then you have your UI automation testing as well. So you have three wings. Okay, so in this pyramid, what we generally do is we add more tests at each level, such that when you are at the final stage, you will be actually sure that there aren't any bugs which are straightforward, which are going to impact your business. So the first thing that we generally do is we identify the business use cases. So how do we do that? When we say we are identifying the business use cases, we understand the product well, and once we understand the product well, we'll be adding the use cases. So once we know what are the priority use cases, we try to automate those. So why do we need automation? If the question is yes, automation is required to bring down your overall execution time. Like as the project goes on, right, today we have two features, next week we'll be having four. Every sprint you'll be adding two or three new features. I'm just giving an example. You can add more features, that is up to you. So as and when you go this in an incremental manner, you'll not be able to test all the features of the first sprint when you are in 20th sprint, right? So if you have automation which takes care of all the straightforward use cases of all the previous sprints, you will be always relying on the automation which executes say some 100 tests in say some 2 hours. Whereas if you ask the same thing to be done from your functional team, they might take more time to execute the same, right? So it adds value in multiple aspects. One, it reduces the execution time. The other one is you will be always dependent on your manual resources to execute the tests or to run the tests or execute it manually. But in automation, you can execute your scripts any time of the day, anywhere from anywhere. Okay, and if you want to run the same tests against multiple platforms, multiple devices, automation is the answer. It is like you can't have 4 or 5 resources doing the same thing at multiple places. All you can do is have one script which executes against all the environments and platforms. That is what I look at it.
Rightly said. I mean, right now, all the customers, everyone wants speed, agility, and correctiveness at the same time. So everyone wants everything right at the moment, and also, I mean, in the correct shape and with a complete agility. So I mean, when you say test automation, what can be the sort of areas of benefits that a company or a client can benefit from, from test automation? Why should a company use test automation or implement a team, so delegated team for, a test automation? What can be the areas of benefits?
Correct. So we at Utthunga have been solving such problems for many clients, and one of the clients who is a leader in oil and gas related industry was facing an issue wherein he had lot of features to test and lot of platforms to test and lot of browsers to handle as well. So this was actually taking him close to 3 to 4 weeks for him to certify something that is working or not whenever there was some minor patches or some fixes. Okay, because you never know what is breaking with a change, right? So what we did with that client was we actually suggested him to invest in test automation. So initially he was reluctant just like any other customer, but once he started seeing the value addition, like how was the value addition? If you ask me, I write a script for a login page. Just a simple example. Okay, I can use the same login script to be executed on Firefox, Chrome, Edge. Same script. I'm not changing the script, and I'll be able to execute the same thing if he's willing to go for a cloud solution. We can use a third-party cloud solution wherein we'll be executing the same script against multiple platforms and multiple browsers. So when I'm taking, say, approximately to execute 100 tests, say 2 to 3 days on one particular platform, I should be able to do the same thing in 2 to 3 hours when I'm running it in a third party cloud service. So that is the added advantage. So it brings down the overall execution time. When the overall execution time comes down, you have that extra time for your development team to fix those existing issues, and you will be getting that extra confidence from your functional team as well when they test on the uh, other use cases which are not automatable, because you will not be able to automate all use cases, right? Whether it is uh, A to Z, you have some 30, 40 say, test cases. You will not be able to automate all of them. There are some which are good to do done functionally, manually, and we do that manually. So automation scripts gives that confidence, and functional team can go ahead all guns blazing on other use cases which are not automatable, and come up with new use cases, business use cases, and they can improve the overall coverage, which is the actual key thing for the customer. So he will be more happier when all his business use cases are covered, which eventually adds value for him.
Correct. I mean, this is such a collaborative effort. Like which process was the process which was taking around 2 to 3 days before. I mean, now it is taking just 2 to 3 hours, and it's a considerable benefit, and it's a substantial time reduce, which is actually beneficial for any company. They would want to definitely adopt it. So, having said that, when using any test automation, when executing any test automation process, what should be the key areas which any team, any test automation expert, any test automation professional should focus around? What are those key areas?
Yeah, the key areas are identifying the right tool for your product or the web application or whatever it is. Okay, so you have to make sure that you identify the right tool for your purpose. Okay, for example, I just take an example. So there might be an application which can be automatable using Selenium, is one of the automation tools which are widely used for web automation. Okay, but the same tool may not be suitable for, say, some other application, say for example an Angular application or something like that. You can still use Selenium, but it has its difficulties to use the tool. So the key aspect is identifying the tool. Once you identify the use cases, then the important aspect is identifying the right tool for your use case, and you have to consider your team's expertise as well. Okay, so some people in your team might be comfortable with, say, Java, some might be comfortable with JavaScript, some might be comfortable with Python. So you have to take a collective decision, because ideally, finally, it is your team which is going to take it forward. Even though the initiative has been taken up by the team, it is you have to take the comfort zone of the team as well, and also the product as well, and also the value addition. So all three things have to be considered while we take this decision. So identification of the tool, team's expertise, and then you have to concentrate some aspects on training as well if the team is not aware of the tool and the technology. That is the third aspect. Then you always have to do a POC. So try out the most important use case, or the use case which you feel is tricky, and see if you can automate it. Once you automate it, the next important thing is plug it into a CI. Okay, so you have to plug it into a CI and see whether it is whether you are able to add it to a CI and see it if it runs. Okay, so all these things are like, it is like a circle. Okay, so you will be connecting all the points from once you identify the use case, you identify the tool, you identify the technology, you train your team, you do a POC, then you show the value addition to the entire team, which eventually brings a positive feedback from everyone, saying that yes, the team is doing something which is actually beneficial, and you will get some good feedback. And also, if there are some uh, instructions or things that we should be aware of, these kind of instruction you'll get well and early from your team members.
Okay, and having you as you mentioned it, what are the, I mean, primary focus areas that Utthunga is actually implementing, and the team you are heading in, your team is implementing? What are those key areas, and what would you like to inform to our viewers about it, about
Yes.
Utthunga's?
So since Yes. So Utthunga has been adding a lot of value addition to the clients that we are associated with us in terms of test automation. We have been adding value for web automation, mobile automation, API automation. All these things we are taking care. And in most of the projects that I have been part of, we have web automation with some of the state of the art tools with Cypress, Playwright, Selenium as well. And for mobile apps automation, we have been using predominantly Appium. And for APIs, we have been using multiple tools. We have been using JMeter for some clients, and we have been using Rest Assured. And yeah, we work with JavaScript tools for Angular and React applications. And for some of the clients, we have been using Selenium as well for the web front. Uh, every tool has its own pros and cons. As I said, we finally stick to the rule that if it is solving the most difficult problem for us, we stick to that tool, and we make sure that we train our team members to utilize the best aspects of the tool and bring the value addition which is much required for the development of the project and also the timely delivery. So, keeping all these things in mind, we go ahead and we implement it, and at the same time, we make sure that we add value at the end of the day.
Okay. So, right in before question, you kind of mentioned that you defining the use cases and deciding on which use case is very important is actually very crucial step of the test automation. So, how do you go about defining, which use case is the straightforward one, which use case is important? How do you decide that?
Okay, so basically, how we actually handle this is once we have the walkthrough of the feature, right? So, the first thing that we do is we go down, we come up with the use cases, and we check with the product owner, and we also with the development team members as well. We share these are the use cases that we have identified, and this is what we feel is the priority, and we based on our understanding, we generally prioritize the tests and we share it with our team members. In the review meetings, we'll get to know if there are any corrections that have to be happening on the priority side. They will definitely share their feedback. Based on that, we prioritize our test cases, and once we prioritize our test cases, we know how to begin our work. So, since everything is agile, we make sure that we uh, follow one sprint after the other. Like for example, there is some development X that has happened in sprint one, and in sprint two, development Y is happening. So now we have X and Y feature in sprint two. So by the time the development Y is complete, we make sure that automation of development X feature is taken care when we go to sprint two, so that the functional team can concentrate only on testing the new feature that is development by, and always rely upon the priority test from the test automation function for the development text that happened in the previous sprint. So we are making sure we in agile environment we successfully add value to the products and also to the project.
And this question was actually to the viewers. This is one of the most crucial aspect of the test automation and any testing process. This is one of the most crucial aspect, and this, I think, viewers will get a lot of insight from this question, lot of insight from this answer. So moving on to the next one, and the one of the most $1 million question, I think. What are the possible challenges in test automation? People just cannot randomly say, any test automation process cannot have anything. So there must be some cons related to test automation. What can be those, if you could shed some light on those?
Okay, the I don't see any cons as such, but there are some times wherein you will not be able to automate some feature. So it is better you understand the feature properly and take call whether to spend time automating that feature or to rely completely on the functional engineers only. Okay, so they will be able to test it. That is one aspect. Then people keep questioning the ROI aspect of automation most of the time. Initial days, the ROI of automation will always be low because you will be having more SDETs who will be working on the test automation scripts. And in the beginning, at least for the initial, I would say 5 to 10 sprints, at least 5 sprints, you will not be able to make out much out of the automation. Um, you will not be able to identify the value addition in the initial aspects. But as and when the project moves on and on, that is when you will be able to actually get actual help, I would say, or value addition from test automation. So you should justify when people ask you what is the ROI. So you should be able to showcase how many bugs you are able to catch or using automation, what has been your coverage in terms of code coverage when you are running these scripts, what aspects of codes you have been hitting, and you should be in position to answer all these questions, because these things are bound to come, because when people are investing something, they always expect a right amount of returns for the same.
Exactly, exactly. So now I think I would request all our viewers to be ready with the questions that they want to ask. So I'll just go with one more question before we take the question from the audience. So what are the primary automation tools available in the market, and how Utthunga is actually one of the pioneers that we keep saying that Utthunga is one of the pioneers. So how would you shed some light on how Utthunga is adopting some of the cutting edge tools? It's developing some of the cutting edge technologies. Would you shed some light on Utthunga's capabilities on test automation?
Yeah, we have some very good test automation experts in Utthunga, and I am very happy to be part of this family as well. Uh, and with respect to the state of the art tools that we have been using, yes, whether it is web automation or APIs automation or mobile automation, we have made sure that we use the latest tools. The reason being, for example, I'll just take an example. So there are tools which are here for close to 10 years now, and people generally prefer to go for those tools because their community support will be higher and things like that. But Uttunga's way of looking at solving a problem is different. So we don't rely only on the tools that are pretty old and stable. We also try to use new tools which are having more features with less community support. But we are willing to explore because we want to make sure that our customers' products or projects are in good shape, and that is where we stand away from the herd mentality. So we try to explore new tools, and we are having some very good trainings that are being planned in our organization, wherein people are being trained on various technologies, various tools, and we have been doing POCs successfully to many companies that we have been working with. So in those aspects, I would say whether it is Cypress where POC which we did for one of our clients, or Rest Assured, Appium, uh, Protractor, uh, Playwright. These are some of the tools to name for the time being. But we have many other tools that we have been exploring, and some cloud services that we have been taken using Browser Stack, where we have been executing tests across multiple platforms, browsers. Yeah, we have come a long way, and we have been identified as an organization which has very good QA ops. The term may not be familiar with many people, but engineers who are capable of delivering both uh, uh, DevOps kind of role in QA aspect are considered as QA ops. So I can say we have very good QA ops at Uttunga.
I think this is the setting stage where I think people would come to know that Utthunga is one of those companies which is grabbing a strong foothold in test automation market, and people are actually relying on us. We are a long term partners for many companies, and we are one of the most renowned companies in test automation areas. So the time comes, Nandan. Let's take the question from the audience. Let's see. I think we
Sure.
have quite a lot of questions from people. So, one of the audience has actually asked, how do we actually improve our coverage if we have to test against multiple OS or browsers?
Okay, fine. This is something that we generally face. Okay, so generally for some of the problems we use, uh, yeah, in our case we have used browser stack, and there are similar solutions in market. So browser stack is one of the cloud services using which you can execute your scripts against multiple platforms and browsers. You need not spend more time, but yeah, there might be some uh, test script changes for you to execute against multiple platforms in terms of setting some environment variables, things like that. But you should be able to achieve this using browser stack kind of solutions.
Definitely. I think the viewer might have gotten the answer, and let's move on to the next one. Um, how is automation adding value when it comes to ROI of a project? If you could just focus on the ROI and could answer this question.
Yeah, we did cover a few points on ROI aspect. Yes, so initially, as I said, you would not feel that the ROI is up to mark when you begin the project initially. There are some specific formulas using which you will be able to identify how many hours a functional engineer spends and how many tests he is executing per day, and what is the speed at which you are executing your test automation scripts and things like that. What is the time taken for you to complete one round of test automation script, wherein you will be taking one more day for a functional test engineer, whereas the automation it might be few hours. So these kind of calculation will happen initially, and at a later stage you will be able to make out and understand from the numbers that even though you're spending at the initial stage on automation, the ROI will be there at a later stage. So you have to go through the initial turbulent time, and then you will be having the clear waters, is what I would say.
I think that's clearly, I mean, outright that, that is an opportunity cost that a company could have invested in implementing test automation practices to, bring this operation, a very steady and, in a very quick cycle, just in time. So that's mentioned very rightly. So moving on to the next question, Nandan, and what programming language should we learn to work on the latest tool which you mentioned? I think this is the question that people should be knowing. All the and testing enthusiasts, all the testing professionals, they would want to know it from you. You are right from the profession, you are right from the market. I think they would want to know this. So if you could shed
Yes.
some light on that.
Sure. So, yes, there are many programming languages, but finally, it is the logic that is more important. So, it may not take more time for you to learn the language, but as far as you're familiar with one programming language, you can always learn the other. So, Java is a must. JavaScript tools are the ones that are picking up in market. So, I would say spend more time on Java, JavaScript, and Python. With these three programming languages, you can work on any of the latest or test automation tools, and you can actually add a lot of value to your profile and also to the projects that you are working, and also to the project.
Okay, so I think we are going to receive one more question, but do we have time? I think, um, let me just, okay. So I think the questions are, I think, wrapped up. So I think we'll conclude this session with this. I think you have rightly mentioned, I think people would want to know which language to choose. This is very important. Okay, we just got one question. I think, do we have time, Nandan? Should we take this question? How
Yeah,
should we group our tests to make sure we have more coverage? So if you could
okay.
quickly answer this.
Yeah, so basically, what you have to do is you have to prioritize your tests, as we mentioned in the initial part of the session. Prioritize your tests, group it into something known as sanity and regression suite. Okay, so run the sanity to each merge request of your developer, run your regression to suits overnight so that you have some results to check in the morning and raise the bugs if they are valid bugs, and continue with your functional testing. So automation testing is here to stay with functional testing, and they both go hand in hand with development. And in this agile process, everything is important.
I think you just wrapped it up. So I mean, in a justified manner. I think he should have gotten the answer. So with this, I think I would like to conclude this session. That I mean, thank you so much, Nandan, once again for coming to this live session. I think we will be coming up with more such kind of live sessions in future, and we hope that viewers get a lot of insight from this. They should, I think, viewers, I would request from you, please let us know which kind of topics will excite you more. Which kind of topics would you like to have us discussed on the live upcoming lives. So thank you so much. I think thanks for joining, everyone. A huge shout out to all the people who have joined. Thank you so much, Nandan. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. See you.
See you.